That's why you're blocked. Blocked.
That's why you're blocked. You're listening to That's Why You're Blocked podcast.
And we're live. Hey, welcome back. I am Carson Bailey.
I'm Chanel Schatz.
And this is That's Why You're Blocked. We've got our special guest is back again. I'll let you introduce yourself.
How y'all doing? They call me Black.
Ooh. All right. So we had him on our previous episode and we talked a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
Yes, so this one's going to be a little bit shorter. We're just going to go ahead and get straight into it with the shit that came through our social media. Actually, Carson told me about it. I actually haven't been super on social media like that. But do you want to go ahead and share it? What happened at the concert?
Okay. All right. I didn't know that was happening. All right. So I know you guys are I know you guys are privy to the DaBaby and him saying, put your cell phones in the air if you're, AIDS or HIV free.
Yeah.
You're not finna die in 2 to 3 weeks. Which was very interesting as he's having this at a concert during a pandemic.
People are dying left and right.
With about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then he also made a thing about, like, put yourself in the air if you're not a nigga sucking dick in the parking lot. And what's wrong with sucking a little dick in the parking lot?
I feel like he left the concert and got his dick sucked in the parking lot.
I feel like somebody might have put it on him and he was just reminiscing and he didn't know what to say. All he really had to say was, put your cell phones in the air.
Yeah.
And that was it. If you fucking with the
unnecessary.
music. But also he was just extremely messy because he also had Tory Lanez come on after Meg Thee Stallion, even though he has a protective order against him. Like he's supposed to stay within 100 feet away from her. And he came in on the song that Megan and DaBaby have together called Cry Baby. Incredibly messy and déclassé, personally.
Very much so. Very much. And I like DaBaby. That's what's crazy. I really just wish artists like, can y'all just be good humans? Is it too much to ask?
I'm not gonna lie. I unliked all the music that I had of him in like my playlist and stuff, and I had to mute him. And the thing is, one of the playlists I had was like things you used to like, and it's one of the songs with Megan, and it's like, I have to skip this on principle, which is hard when your like favorite artist collabs with like niggas you can't fuck with.
It's funny because, like, so for the most part, I didn't really listen to DaBaby either, so cutting him off was easy. But I really like the song Nasty.
I know! It's like,
And I'm like, damn it.
but
Can Meg release a version without him?
I want everybody. She needs to do another cast shit with like a female rapper or something.
She does. She definitely does. But it wasn't just his comments. It was the backup that he got from, I believe it was T.I. and Boozy. And
Both niggas who are actual, like, you probably should be in jail. Boozy, who on record admitted to hiring a prostitute to fuck his 12-year-old son.
That's disgusting.
And
That
T.I., who is
really
in
is.
current litigation for several cases of women saying that he and his wife drugged and sexually assaulted them. So I find that, like, ironic. And most of their arguments were like, well, if y'all are letting Lil Nas make a music video, DaBaby should be able to say what he says. The issue, though, is when you break down all the numbers within the AIDS and HIV epidemic, the people who were hit the most and were black women. His target audience, the main group of people who like and support him, which is ironic.
highly. A lot of people don't know that, though. That
They
black
don't.
women, were hit the hardest.
So, ladies, fuck what this nigga saying. Make him put on a condom because it's not worth your life. He's not worth it.
Never. All right. So that leads into a greater conversation about homophobia in the black community, because there are a whole bunch of people who agree with T.I. and Boosie's thinking, which is, well, it's just my opinion. I can say whatever I want.
Oh, he made a comment. It was like, I didn't mean to offend people with HIV, but the LGBT community, y'all gonna do whatever.
just feel like people in 2021, like people still die because they choose to love like who they
Well,
want to
there's
love.
a
Like
lot of
I don't understand.
laws against it, and like you said, crimes and stuff. And the thing that was very interesting is when he was getting pushed in the corner, he's like, "Well, you black people or people kill black people all the time," which I think is like he tried to like have the black community like.
We've always been upset about that. That's never been a.
But the thing is, there are people who are black
And gay.
and gay, and a lot of those people start a lot of the movements. They're the ones who are pretty vocal. I feel like the people I saw most, within like this influencer community that first started the conversation about, Black lives and all that stuff, weren't the really popular black people with a lot of followers.
No.
Nah, it's never them.
It was more the people that I follow that were in the LGBT community. LGBTQ.
I agree.
So I think that that's very interesting. And it's like black lives can't matter until all black lives matter.
This is true. But also, like,
But people don't believe that.
are we really running to T.I. and Boosie for their opinion? I'm sorry, like,
I will be
think
so happy
they're-
when we
I think
stop.
they're irrelevant.
I do
so-
think that what's his name? A lot of these blogs things should be held accountable for like why you keep posting this person or giving them a platform to say dumb, ignorant shit.
You know what she was about to say is fire. She dropped the mic like that.
Right?
She dropped the mic before she said.
No.
Just in anticipation to let y'all know it was about
I
to be
blame
some
the
fire.
hangnail.
We're looking at you, this shade room, by the way. Like, there's no reason
No,
why
yeah,
she continue
and
posting
all-
these individuals.
Yeah, especially people is like they're not for us. Like, what's his name? The 6ix9ine person. The other rapper? Was it Xanax or something that was like at the pro-Trump rally and stuff? Like, why would you post like? No.
Why are
I
you
mean,
giving these
I
people
understand
voice?
the
T.I.
I understand the business of like outrage and whether something is clickable, but at some point those entities should be held accountable on what they post because they know their viewership and they know the impact that they have.
I agree. I feel like they should have some culpability in all of this. And I do think that it's not his first time in controversy either. So I think his fans do play a role in that too. Like, at a certain point, you've got to cut that nigga off.
I mean,
Like, as much as I like the song Nasty, I unliked it. It hurt, but I did. And I feel like that's the real, like, the only way to hurt people for real is in their pockets.
to be honest, like half of the things is like the opinions that these people are giving. It's like you got to look at their fan base, and it's just like, are you expecting more from their fan base? That's like expecting a lot from the Joe Budden fan base. Like, I'm sorry, like Joe Budden, like very irrelevant, and all the people who really like Joe Budden are typically, they
Oh, yeah, incels and stuff
exactly.
like that.
So
I hear you, but I think that when you learn and you understand and you grow and you educate, like there's certain things that you just can't continue to support. Like he who sings songs from Chicago that shall not be named. I feel like you can't play his music. Like no ifs, ands, or buts. As much songs as he like, or the thing, it's a grayer area. But for me, I'm like, I understand that the reason that he was able to do what he did was
he
because
had
of
support.
and because of his music gave him a platform. And so I feel like I can't support the platform.
It's hard for some people to separate the artist from the art. It's very hard. And I think it becomes even harder, not an excuse, but I think listening to generations above me, and we'll get into this too, like as a black community, like how we've always viewed the LGBT community, it seems like people like that person and the other he who should not be named, who was just let out on a technicality, the actor. They started playing his stuff like I mean, they've been playing it for a while, maybe like a few months ago, but it seems like that was the soundtrack and the TV show of their lives. And they've attached so many different memories to what their art was. It's like they feel like if I mute this person, then it's like muting a childhood. And it's not. Those memories are still there.
Yeah,
It's
think
just-
that there is a generational gap
Yeah.
in a lot of this stuff, and even accepting and being open to talking about the LGBT community and homophobia and stuff. That is true. I'm not saying I'm perfect because there's just one song that he wrote for somebody that I really like, and like I
Like if Drake, 20 years from now, I would have to grapple a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It would take longer. And a lot of people who
he's
still
talking to a 16-year-old. A lot of these
A lot of okay, all right. You were going to say something before I, go into
I was
Drake.
just gonna say it's definitely a thing about that generational bridge, and this is back to having homophobia within the black community. Lil Nas X had his teaser trailer before Industry Baby dropped, and it was the fake trial. I sent that trial to someone, and they were just like, "I'm not watching that," and I was just like, why not? And they're just like, oh, I just don't support Lil Nas X. And me being, curious, well, why not? Like, what's going on? Why don't you support Lil Nas X? Oh, he does that like Satanistic stuff. And I was just like,
Well,
that's interesting.
what I think is his idea is he wants it to be essentially, he's doing a lot, doing very extra, so that when people are themselves and normal, it's not going to be viewed as like it's just who they are. Like I think Lizzo kind of does that same thing where it's like I'm gonna show everything so that when you see the next person, it's not gonna be like a.
And a lot of people are like, "Oh, she's overcompensating." It's like you wouldn't say that if a stick was walking around in the same exact outfit.
Well, that is, and we've had conversation about there is a certain body types are policed a lot more than others for basic clothing. But back to sexuality and homophobia. With the Lil Nas X thing, I think that it's very interesting how like you're told if you're gay you're going to hell,
And then he embodies that.
and then
and
he
y'all
just
still ship
repeated that what he was told, and everybody's like, it's an abomination, and it's like.
Is it? I mean,
I'm
you've
just
been telling him this his whole life, so.
And so I think that, I don't want to get in a big religion thing, but I think.
Ooh, we don't want to get into religion. Not with me on the podcast.
Well, all I'm going to say is, the literature they're looking at is somebody's interpretation of what happened. And there's some implicit bias that a lot of people I don't feel like talk about with that. Like we're getting second, third hand information from somebody, however they thought it should be written and stuff.
A lot of people who quote the Bible also don't read the Bible.
That is
Like,
true.
it's someone else's interpretation, but even within like the people who quote it the most,
I mean,
don't
And then they
have
only
never
pick out-
read it.
They pick out certain
Yes,
parts.
and they ignore everything else. I cannot stand someone who does that. Like, I feel like when people judge on sexuality, I'm like, that's just not your place. And why do you care? But like, that's
You're
also just
been married
not.
for 5 years and you got a 7-year-old. That math don't math right.
I'm just saying, I feel, and I'm going to say this and then we'll go back to homophobia. I feel like generally a lot of people who consider themselves Christian do it more so out of obligation or community, and they really haven't read the Bible by themselves in its entirety. So how can you subscribe to a religion and the law per se or the constitution of that religion you are unfamiliar with?
And a lot of things done in the name of Christianity are terrible. Like the whole idea of like slavery and us being savages and things like that. That was done under the guise
Yeah.
of religion and Christianity.
Let's talk about the Crusaders.
I
But
was-
again, homophobia.
I was like, all right, so like obviously you
Lil
can have
Nas X. Do you mind if I say this point about Lil Nas X? I actually, and this is because I was going to comment on your thoughts on Lizzo and Lil Nas X. I actually don't think it's them being extreme. I think it's just them being themselves openly. And now that they have a chance to be viewed openly and by themselves, a lot of people who aren't privy to this or don't see it as normal, because it's not, unfortunately, they see it as it being an extreme. But I know a lot of people who have been on that wave before there was a Lizzo or before there was even a Lil Nas X, but because they're celebrities, it's at the forefront. And I personally am a stan of Lil Nas X. I love him. And the only reason I do is because I do have individuals who are in my life who are part of the LGBT who felt like they couldn't do X, Y, and Z. But because he's been comfortable being himself, they feel like, hey, I finally, one, have someone I can look on TV and see myself in, but two, like, being myself is okay. And as much as you want to bash him, he's still gonna get them
You
Grammys.
know who the fuck he
He's still gonna
is.
get
I was
them
gonna say,
plaques.
he
He knows who
is
the fuck he
so
is.
good at social media and
Very
marketing.
good.
Like He had some link to a video, was like the unrated version,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the same song again.
And it buffered at the shower scene.
Or whatever. I just saw it, and I was
clicked
like, I'm like, yo, this man, he's really tapped in marketing wise. Like he takes social media, he works it very well for his audience. I think that he's pretty brilliant in that.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think there is so much homophobia within the black community, even though like black LGBT members are at the forefront of the LGBTQ movement?
And in most black movements as well. I think it kind of boils down to when we talk about the church is a really big part of our community as a whole. I feel like after slavery was one of those things that we relied to and put a lot of our identity in, because it provided us with like schools and other resources.
Well, it actually started slavery. Like the whole term Sunday's best was because, slave masters, they would go to their slaves and they would pretty them up, put them in great clothes and send them to church, because it was a show off thing, which is also where black people got the idea of, well, if I'm dressed nice, I'll be respected. If I'm dressed nice, if I look more expensive, then I am.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're right. So I think that plays a big role in it, and a lot of it is ignorance, and to me, a lack of just education and cultural understanding, and also you're a very selfish people, especially I feel like as Americans as a whole. We are not one to think of our neighbor or our others, i.e. this pandemic has definitely showed that we are...
I don't give a fuck about other people.
They're like, there's a gas shortage, and niggas took plastic bags and filled it up with gas.
Me and mine are going to be okay.
Right, instead of just getting what you need and leaving it. Or even when the pandemic first hit and everybody was gouging all the stores, and the people who were the front lines, right, they would get off the hospital. There's nothing for them to shop at, and they're the ones risking their lives. So we have a very much a selfishness, and I think that we... How do I want to say this? Judge others because we don't want to be like within a group. Like, okay, I want to other you, so I'm not other.
Yeah, I was thinking that. So I got my mom watching Pose, and I love Pose. I gotta finish the series. Shout out if you've never seen it, like it's so good. And that was actually the first time that I had ever seen ball culture. Like, I had no idea what it was, and it's so crazy to me. Like, I've never seen this other side of someone else's life. But now that I see them, like, wow, like they're amazing people. They're gorgeous. Like they're really amazing people. And I think shows like that we need to see more of. That show is written, produced, and like all of that by people of that community, and that's why it shines differently than the one character on the sitcom that the only time you see them is when they're going to a dick appointment. The only time you see them is when they're making out with someone, or like as if they don't have a life, as if they don't go to school.
Okay,
I'm looking
that's
at your RuPaul's Drag Race, by the way, because that's not a good example.
It's not. But like, I love it for its campiness.
It's good.
But I do think that is another thing, that there is a certain like sexualization that goes in with people who are LGBT.
Yeah.
Especially like bisexuals, and they're, to me, seem just more like sexual deviants. The same thing with gay people, and it's things where like, oh, I don't want to be like, they might like try to come on to me, and I'm not like that, or certain things.
Yeah, so when I'm saying, I think it all plays in. If that's the only time you've seen gay people and you don't know one.
Okay, so yeah, that's kind of goes like disclosure. And there was this girl, Chanel watched this video of somebody kind of discussing like transphobic or trans, I guess it was like transphobic media, and like, because J.K. Rowling in 2020 had written this essay about cancel culture and how like the trans people were canceling her, and most of her argument was like, think of the children, and like,
Ooh,
I hate that argument.
Or like,
fuck them kids,
I just think that like, I as a sexual assault victim, I'm not comfortable with like people who've had male body parts in the same restroom as me, and
okay, so even with the kids, what about the kids? Nobody cares about the kids when you're letting them watch Power at 10 years old.
Nobody cares about the kids who are getting sexually assaulted by hetero people.
Like nobody cares. Like, you only care because you think that it's wrong, or you think like, and it's just internalized homophobia. It's never been about the kids. There are gay children.
I was like,
I've
there are
Never ever been about the kids.
I feel like
Well,
people find an excuse to justify their homophobia all the time, whether it's kids, whether it's religion, whether it's something being too feminine. Like, and especially within the black culture, like I feel like a lot of people write off homosexuals because they feel like somehow like a guy's measure is his masculinity, and
I
for you
think
to
that
deviate
is-
from that is somehow atrocious.
All right.
Let's get into it.
It's a long one.
Let's get
Give me
into
something.
it.
All right. So I am like a true crime buff. I've watched documentaries about like, murderers, serial killers, sexual assault.
Wow.
All right. So one thing that I saw is there's like, we want to other people that like, we're like, oh, that just cannot be like this. Like, oh, he was strange. He was misunderstood. He was a loner, a lone wolf, right? And we attach more of like, quote unquote, feminine qualities to certain people that we distinct like want to differentiate to us. Like there's a lot of let me pull it back.
All right.
Essentially, a lot of people who create violence, the violence comes from the masculinity side of the community, but people don't want to accept that because we want that to be considered good. Does that make sense?
I mean, we can talk about the word bitch. To be honest, like, why is bitch a derogatory phrase? Because it shows that for some reason you are more feminine. Like, that's the only reason. Like, it's bad.
Even think of things that are considered women's work, and they're not valued the same way
Girl.
as like the whole idea of going 50-50, but a woman is expected to keep the household, raise the children, and blah, blah, blah. And if we were to put a monetary value on that, the yearly salary should be about 6 figures.
Yeah, I think I wrote something under a post, and it was a woman. She was like, when it comes to wife material, why is the first thing men go to cooking? A maid or a chef is not synonymous with a wife. We make it, but it's not it. That's not all a wife is. And under her comments, I think I said something like, and the men who ask that can't do anything that is quote unquote masculine. Like, you're asking for all these feminine qualities in a woman. You can't mount a TV. You can't change your oil. Like, if that's what you're asking for, you don't fit the other half. And I think someone wrote under mine, but y'all shit is easy, though. And I'm like, no, it's not. You only think it's easy because it's associated with women's work. And it's like, oh, well, I can cook. Why you at your grandma's house every weekend then? Like, why? If you can cook and it's so easy for you.
All they do is fry something and make some rice that comes in the minute rice. They ain't had no vegetables.
And then he was like, well, y'all have to do it daily. Like, the things that we have to do is like once a month. And I'm like, yes. So you're qualifying that women do more work. You had to eat every day. You mount on TV every time you move somewhere. Like, you do most of these masculine things. They aren't everyday things.
And then they still want to pay bills. But, like, that's a different argument. I think that I feel like I'm getting lost in the sauce, but there is like this idea of being better than somebody, and like it's kind of like I said with othering.
Yeah.
So like, I am a good Christian woman, right? And he's a deviant, he's gay and all this stuff, and like I'm identifying this. I'm not going to associate with him because I'm better. Like that's not me.
And that's really what it is. You think that you're better.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest issue is this. People want to oppress people.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
so if you're one step away from the standard, which is straight white male, you want to oppress someone who's 2 steps away.
Yeah.
Black men, black women. I want to put it like that, but like you're only one. I'm not going to play the Olympics. The oppression Olympics, but you're one step away. So yes, it's very easy for you to marginalize someone who is 2 steps away. And you don't think it's wrong. You don't think you're saying that you're better, but that's really what you're saying. I'm not like them.
I saw this quote online that says if you put all black people in the same room, and the conversation is no longer like racism, it's now like elitism, classism,
yes,
colorism.
That all plays into it. And the thing that's very interesting though is like for us to be such a homophobic place, we do a lot of homoerotic things. Like a lot of Black men, a lot of their relationships that they value the most is not with other women. It's their relationship with other men.
Oh yeah,
it's
my
their
bros are the
friends,
guys.
it's your dads. It's the idols that you look up to. It's the professional athletes that you follow.
It's the fact that you're more loyal to your barber than your girl.
Like,
Hey, you can't cheat on your barber.
See what I'm saying?
Oh.
Be ducking the streets, but it's just my girl. But you be ducking the streets with
I was like,
Taekwon, so you went to somebody else with a fresh
I also
lineup.
think part of it is just like, as a Black culture, we don't allow men to really like show their like emotion. Because I'm definitely like a guy who like I hug both my male and female friends. Like y'all both getting hugs, but I do realize I get more pushback when it's like because,
come on, bro.
Yeah, so like to this conversation, like not a lot of like homosexuals are feminine. There's a lot like I know a lot of like
Hella
gay men
masculine.
who are like football players and like they
Yeah.
beat your
Yeah, I
ass.
went to Pride one year and I was like, damn.
And you get the pushback like, hey, bro. And
and then also there's this, like I said,
I don't do that shit, bro.
well, yeah. So there's a lot of the idea of femininity being looked as less than. Also, like I said, it's an ego thing, right? I assume that you're a lesbian, you must want to have sex with me, and it's like,
Do you want to fuck every guy you see?
I'm a hoe, but no.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But I think that is also the thing. It's an ego thing. It's a pride thing. It's the idea that I need to be better than you. And if I can impress somebody, that I will try to do that.
I mean, but if you're not getting any girls, what makes you think guys want you? So
I saw I think it was Shantae
Where was my
Wayans. She like one of the Wayans, like like third, second generation Wayans, and she was like, she said that about women. She was like, if niggas didn't want you when you on your third kid, don't slide over to us. We don't want you either.
honestly,
if you were ugly in straight culture, you're ugly in gay culture too.
even the body standards in LGBT culture
Are
really
higher.
they be
Oh my goodness!
cutthroat.
I don't know if you've heard of like Grindr, but it is
they are
bad. It's like
cutthroat.
no Latinos,
No rice,
no
beans.
blacks, no Asians. Latinos
You
okay,
gotta
but
have
only
a
if they're
built
twinks.
body.
It's like muscular
Yo,
or deaf.
Dang.
The body
No.
standards are up there. Like
And to me, it is a lot of, and I wish we had somebody here that can speak more on that. But like fetishism in that, I think that is a discussion that I would love to have. Okay, but I've realized the point that I wanted to make.
Was it the emotional, like men can't show their emotions? Was
Yes.
it that one? I figured because I saw your face, and we've had this before. Go ahead, I'll let you start.
I think that the issue, and we kind of touched on it last time, is men a lot of times are allowed to be like, they get away with it a lot more. In order to
get
not
away with what?
being allowed to be a little emotionally immature and not like, oh, he don't know how to handle his emotion.
Would you say get away with it, or you say that's like I feel like that's how like we're trained to be, like that's how our upbringing is, especially
think we're
within the
not-
Black community.
To me, a lot of times Black men are coddled in the sense where women aren't given the same liberties to be, a hothead, right? Or like, there's like, if you're around a man, right, and he's upset, it can get very violent.
Quick.
And there is, Donald Glover made a joke, and he said a lot of comedians have jokes about crazy women. A lot of women don't have those same jokes because the men kill them. Like, a woman has a crazy man story, she may or may not die. Not saying that doesn't necessarily happen to men, but there is a big difference in what happens. And so I think that the issue is there is this perceived, like I said, femininity, and you're afraid that you don't want your child to be gay, right? And
Which
so
is stupid. I'm sorry.
incredibly.
Yeah.
But also,
the whole daughter or like the gay son one. Like why is that a thing?
yeah, which, when you really think about it, and that's how I know I've grown, because I think I asked that once. And I was really surprised at the answers, but like when you think about that oxymoron,
I don't think it's comparable. I don't know why it's a thing.
I was gonna say even like the whole daughter, like what
Really a
is
hoe
that?
anyway.
If I have a whole daughter, like I would support her endeavors, but like now I'm just like I
You
feel
want
like
them to be safe, but even like a gay, like
honestly,
it's comparing the two. Like
It's not comparable. That's the thing.
it's not comparable. Even like why are we projecting so much? Like I think a lot of people, when they talk about homophobia, they make up scenarios. It's like, okay, well, what if like I'm in the bathroom and like a sexual deviant comes out and tries to attack me.
A mythical creature.
Right? And like, you know, they were tricking me because they pretended to be a woman, but they're actually a man.
I just feel like you've been to the bathroom how many times? How many times did that happen?
Yeah.
I mean,
but there's a fear, but I'm definitely got off topic. I think
there's so many DL men who allow, like, you know, trans women, transgendered women, to do activities in the dark. So, but again, I feel like it's a culture thing that doesn't allow them to do that without being ridiculed, and that's where that comes from.
And then that is like the most, like they die at such an alarming rate for them to be such a small part of the community.
But are they that small? Is it that small part of a community?
How many trans black people do you?
Oh, I thought you meant DL men.
No, I meant trans black people.
Oh yeah, they're a small.
I don't think. I'm trying to think. I don't.
But like, I think that they die like later. It is.
Oh no! They died at extreme rates.
But
yes,
it's because of the ego of men. Like they're like,
it
I
is
can't
the
take
trans
it.
quote unquote panic. I saw.
You know how many times Shade Room has tried to like out some rapper because they was like, oh, they're getting caught in the hotel room.
Come on, that's
like,
so.
Bro, like,
that's
what I'm saying.
so wrong.
Those platforms are honestly, we need to get rid of the Shade Room. Like, to be honest,
so wrong.
But that plays a big role in it. There
as
is
if it's something
shame.
like, I caught you. This is bad, and
it's not bad.
That's what they chose. Like it's.
And then a lot of times, there's very rarely, if at all, but I can't say for certain, they're not really being tricked. Like they know.
They know. Yeah.
But
And that is the biggest lie, that they've been tricked.
Yeah.
I hate that.
You knew.
I hate
And
that.
You knew.
like
You want your boys to know that you knew, but you knew.
It's
and you like
okay
it.
for you to like it. It doesn't make you.
But
gay.
you know, a lot of people really just aren't willing to live in their truth because of other people. And it is a big societal thing. I mean, I've seen a lot of crazy things that, like, the reason why black men are in cages because, you know, slave masters used to fuck them to break them, and that's the breakdown of the black community. Like, I've heard a lot of stuff.
As if you can catch it.
And the thing that's really interesting to me is, like, they don't want to see.
Catch the gay.
No, that's what's her name? She put that in her little essay about the trans people. Like, oh, back in my day, I don't want to get transed. Like,
Girl!
like, you know, back in my day, they called
Like
it being
it's a
tomboy.
transformation.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
But
Back in my day, they called it being a tomboy.
I feel like-
Lord Jesus.
and I do think that that's another thing that people are like.
My mom has said that back in the day, and this is a direct quote. You knew who was gay, but you didn't say anything. They didn't say anything, and I'm like, is that better?
No, it's not.
Not at all.
But I think that when you look at history, the names and things were different. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't like they just appeared.
Yes.
Like they've been here. In a lot of cultures, especially like Native American cultures, people who identified as trans, they were thought to be a little more godly-like because they were both men and women and all that. Or I guess that's non-binary. I'm mixing my terms up. But
the hypocrisy to me is crazy because older black people especially will mention Langston Hughes, they'll mention Billie Holiday, they will mention all of these Alvin Ailey, they'll mention all these great black people, and to them their talents overshadowed them being a part of that community. But it's like they were still a part of that community. It's like so you have to be talented for you to be gay, basically, is what it comes off as. But you can't be a regular person in your family that you get to love on right there in front of you. That's not okay. I gotta shame this person. Oh, but I'm gonna talk about Langston Hughes all day. I'm gonna talk about Billie Holiday all day, and especially with women like Billie Holiday, and I think it's Bessie someone else like in that jazz space who are bisexual women. That wasn't a part of their story until like years later. Because at that time, that would have destroyed them.
Didn't Jay-Z make the song about his mom finally being able to like be openly lesbian?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
I did not
I'm
know
gonna go
that.
back.
Y'all need to listen
I'm
to
gonna go
the
back.
404 album. It's a great album.
I
But
never
yeah,
listened to the whole thing. Okay,
his
I gotta go back.
mom like couldn't do that because it wasn't like again it was like part of that the whole don't ask don't tell thing, and it's just really unfortunate that people kind of have to hide this part of themselves because society somehow feels upset about it. Like first thing first, I feel like a lot of people don't know what like being homosexual is because they just be throwing out wild things.
I think that we kind of talked about, and I think you said it best. Maybe it was a quote from my high school teacher. The difference between like gender and sex.
Yeah, I think we were in the same class. Yeah, so
I didn't remember that.
gender is between the ears, sex is in between the legs.
Yeah, and so I think that I'm understanding that sex is more like a spectrum. Like I've talked to my parents and my grandmother and stuff like that, and to hear their thoughts is like Ma'am. Like my mom and grandmother, they're like, okay, gay, right? Like it's like you like the other sex. They, for some reason, don't believe in bisexuality.
Huh?
Yeah.
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 Like either
And
you're
it-
one thing or the other. It's greedy. It's
or like there's a certain. My mom said it just seems like you're selfish. Like you want both. Like that doesn't.
What?
And
direct quotes.
no, yeah, I'm so serious. And so I think that there is, like I said before, for that community, there's this extra level of like sex, which is very strange when you think of, when they talk about like the media, they don't want it, what about the children seeing that? And it's
It's like you expect them. Like it's
not even that, but like think about how many hetero straight couples you've seen on TV and how sexed up our community is, and them niggas are
just
still
fucking.
gay. And them niggas are still gay. So you're only gonna be gay if you are gay. Like that's not gonna necessarily turn you gay. So I think that to me is just a weird thing. But yeah, I remember my grandmother saying that, and I was like, what?
There are
and
some
I tried
nuances.
And you try to make an argument. I'm like, you could like apples and oranges, and just because you like one doesn't mean you like the other any less.
Nah, you gotta like apples or oranges.
You can only pick one.
selfish.
There are certain nuances within like bisexuality that I would love to have someone who identifies as that on. One of my friends from grad school, she is bisexual, and she said that she doesn't date women seriously. Like she just fucks women, and she only dates men seriously. And I was like, that's really interesting to me. That's very nuanced. But she also is her mom. I think is her dad's Jamaican. I think her mom's Nigerian, or maybe it's the other way around. And she's like, for my community, like I'm getting laughed out of my house if I bring a woman home. And she was dead ass serious.
And there's okay, back to the person that said that they would, and I quote, fuck anything, but they would date a woman. There seems to be like this
Societal standard.
of what is okay,
Like sexual plaything, but when you date, you gotta
be
date.
serious,
Yeah.
and you gotta like I don't say conversion, but like box away whatever it is.
Or this, when I get 50, I can't be gay no more. As
I
if it goes
delivered.
away.
Gay no more.
I saw that man from 2014 online. I saw his girlfriend. I'm just like,
Yo,
There was
look what a
actually-
money maker bitch do.
I actually know this guy who is a super conservative Christian. He has gay thoughts, but he doesn't act on them because he doesn't want to be persecuted. And so it's just like he's been living his whole life like asexual because he's like
damn.
scared of hell, which is
Yeah.
sad. And I feel like a big portion of that is just like conversion therapy. And why is that still the thing in this great 2021, So
I just
I
don't
mean,
believe
it's just
that.
so. It's kind of like, all right, racism, capitalism, and like homophobia are like braided and intertwined within like the backbones of our community, and they marry each other so well that it's kind of like impossible to pick one piece out and try to fix it without.
There are people who fall into different categories, intersectionality.
Yeah, and so like in order, like I feel like to have effective change, you basically got to dismantle almost all of it, because at the very bottom, the very bottom of the totem pole of life would be a black, disabled LGBTQ member. The totem pole of life.
Probably be trans.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't just be
Yes,
anyone
okay.
from that
Oh
community.
yeah, so black,
Because
LGBT,
gay white men, they seem to be kinda
racist as hell, and then
living fine.
well, no, yeah, and then that's the thing, that the difference between like the gay movement and like black movement is the gays. Not to say that like that. I didn't mean it like that. Not offensive. They've got money.
I mean, the girls and the gays, I think it's a term. It's
I mean, you can have the same argument when it comes to like the feminist
Yeah.
movement with white feminism
Women versus
and black.
everybody else. It is.
Girl,
It is.
but when you leave, take hood feminism.
I will. Well,
Yes.
feminism at its core benefits middle class white women.
Well,
Of
they
course.
kind of
At
stole
its
the
core.
movement. They stole
They
the.
Yeah.
It's
What was
co-opted.
it?
Womanism?
Me Too.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Me Too movement that started, and it started in I think black schools in like Philadelphia as a way to open up about that, and then they kind of took it and ran with it. So
Yeah,
white
the Brett
gays-
Kavanaugh thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So white gays are essentially the same thing. They are an
Yeah.
oppressed group that more than likely, or almost always, oppresses another group.
Yeah.
That's
Isn't
one of my
it?
biggest
It's
issues with RuPaul's
Marsha.
Drag Race, too.
I'm forgetting her last
That's why I
name.
mentioned that show when you mentioned it, because like
Because there's some characters I really don't like on that show.
Marsha, I'm forgetting her last name, but she was a black trans woman who started like Pride, and they always try to make Pride seem like it was the bar that Pride started at, like some preppy upscale white bar, but it wasn't. It was for not. Like the bottom of the barrel, or what that community considered the bottom of the barrel, and it was a riot. Pride was originally a riot.
Yeah.
Actually, there was this controversy on Twitter. I feel weird. Okay, well, when this white homosexual man essentially stated that he was really tired of everyone acting like all of, AAVE came from black people. Some white, homosexual started that as well.
Oh, Lord.
Like, all right, so what
AAVE is? Do you know what
basically,
that means?
The gays get it from the black girls, and then the white media culture takes it from the gays, and then that makes it like stan culture. Mm-hmm. But it originates from us, like the long nails, the extra makeup.
He got ratioed and read fulfilled. Everyone.
He should have.
I really hope so.
Because that was a very stupid take, sir.
What we're seeing in 2021 is that young Gen Z culture seems to be mixed with AAVE, and it's not the same thing.
Ooh,
and I think
AAVE stan culture.
And I think so each generation is a little bit more accepting. If I had to be honest, I don't know if I was raised in my grandmother's generation, if I would be as open to the LGBT. I don't know if I could honestly say that, because when you're raised in that society,
that makes
and
a lot of sense.
like so I give my mom a lot of grace. I try to introduce her to different things. I try to open up. My dad is a different case. I have to wait for that. I have to try, but
I was like, I just closed that door.
I'm not gonna leave that door, but I'm trying like here or there. But I also know like what he can take, and I don't know. But what I'm saying is like each generation gets a little bit more open, and I think Gen Z's generation is so open that they're like, oh, we're the same. We live in different struggle.
I don't feel like Gen Z, parts of Gen Z are open, but there's a big part like on the whole liberal agenda. Like a lot of these white kids, right, were just one group chat late from being a Proud Boy. A lot of them, to me, white liberals, white conservatives, they're more likely to...
Well, yeah, it still just have to do with geographic. Like, where
I
are
was
you?
going to say two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And so that I think where
I don't
now...
really trust white liberals, to be honest.
I was going to say, I really don't either. Like, the older I get...
It looks like performative, because, like...
Yeah, it really does.
I've been in too many circles where I have white friends who are like, oh, yeah, they would just start saying all these things in front of me, and I'm like... Why are they so comfortable doing that, bro? Like, are you not... And that actually, because I wanted to address this as well, that actually takes me back to the conversation about, like, mentioning it to your folks. Like, I know you said you give your dad a lot of grace because he's just not open with it. Like, I'm anonymous here, but I'm atheist, right? And my mom is Haitian.
Ooh,
She's
okay.
hella Christian, huh?
Very.
Catholic or no?
Christian Baptist, but she couldn't even fathom it, right? So for the longest, I didn't mention it to her because I just didn't think she could care. But then I realized, like, that is holding part back of me, And so if I want to be open in my truth, I have to mention it to her. And as much as she dislikes it or doesn't agree with it, like, I'm still going to be like, hey, listen, whenever, like, something happens and I need to check you, I am going to check you. I feel like...
Oh, I feel that. I definitely,
because that's how we get.
I agree.
You can't say you need to check your racist.
I agree.
You gotta be able to.
I agree. I check if they say something like that boy got a little sugar and say that boy is suspect. I'm just like, come on, that's unnecessary. But I don't I'll openly sit down with my mom and I'm like, hey, we're gonna watch Pose today. Okay, you only made it the first 20 minutes last time. We're gonna watch the whole episode this time.
Have your dad start with Moonlight. That's a great movie.
I actually really like Moonlight.
I've never seen it. My homework for... Don't shame me! They're going to stone me!
Please watch
all right.
Moonlight.
Well,
I will watch. It's on Netflix, right?
I don't think so anymore.
I'll find it.
I was going to say...
I'll find it. Don't worry about it.
What we're going to do the next time before we record, we'll watch Moonlight.
Okay.
Please do. It's
But,
such a great story.
I've seen the beginning. I don't think I finished
it.
it.
Having, masculine
Oh, yeah, that man
homosexual
was...
men
Yeah.
in the
Trevante.
area. Even Superfly, to be honest.
Yep.
Let's talk about that.
I ain't Superfly. I didn't see that.
And not even... There's just a lot of... Okay, so there's another show I kind of want you to watch. It's called Generation. It's on HBO Max.
Okay.
And it is about like a high schoolers, but like what I find really interesting when people write these high school strips, how like theatrical it is. I know it's a TV show, but like there's this one guy that's like super out and all this stuff, and I don't. You know what? I'm gonna table this.
Okay, table it. Okay, so are we trying to wrap up a little bit?
Well, no, not necessarily, but kind of.
Okay, I do want to talk. We kind of briefly went over it, but we can end out on this. So it seems to me when we're talking about men emotional, like processing their emotions, I feel like we don't always give them the chance to, and that's correct. But the reason why women have so many different spaces is because we create them. I feel like we don't wait for men to create spaces for us, and I feel like men don't take the same follow through for whatever reason. It could be like plus size women felt like, oh, we don't get enough love here or there. They created their own lines, they created their own spaces, and it seems like men just don't. But y'all have all these spaces for violence, and that's something that Carson says often. You have a space for toxic masculinity, you have a space for violence, but you don't have a space to tell your best friend. And you seem a lot more evolved, but like I know male friends who will talk to me about friend issues but not talk to their friend, and it's like that's your best friend. Y'all can talk about everything, y'all can talk about fucking bitches, but you can't tell him that what he said hurt you.
And so part of that is, again, it goes back to like a societal thing where like expressing your feelings with another man in some way seems a bit more feminine, and so a lot of guys don't want to do it, which I disagree with, because as you can like
we know that you're an outlier. I feel like I kind of call BS. Because
who's keeping that standard?
No,
well, not even that.
Have the barbershop talks, but we won't have the emotional talks. We'll have
I was like in the barbershop.
Yeah, and that sounds like a created
Well, no, I'm saying the
space
messiest bitch
to me.
we all know is a man.
It definitely is.
The one that they're mad nosy and all the tea, even in these barbershop spaces. I just think it's kind of like a cop out. Like
Because my thing is, like, in the barbershop spaces, we are having, like, deep conversations, but our deep conversations are about, like, trades. Our deep conversations are about politics. It's about sports. You go give me one barbershop in America where the general conversation is about.
I guess my question is why.
Because it's not.
But like who?
Feminine.
Okay, but you all are in a barbershop. You all created that space, which means you create the rules. So who is in that barbershop? Is there a woman in that barbershop calling it feminine? Like at that moment,
or who is saying that you can't?
Other men.
And that's the problem. You all are holding yourselves in these patriarchal shackles, and I would just love for like one of y'all just to be like, bro, like we don't have to dance no more.
Me.
That's what I'm saying. Like we don't have to do this anymore. It's not because y'all like you killing yourselves, literally.
But my thing is, like, not only is it men, but it's society. It's also women. Like,
no, we definitely said
like
that.
Emotional men, like,
yeah.
Man
up, be a man. I understand. I definitely hear that.
There is a part to that as well, and I think that goes into this whole like teaching. Women and men get taught different things.
Yeah.
In life. And like how to handle certain situations. I think a lot of times women are taught to be kind of more of a second fiddle, to shrink, to like. And the men are taught to be more of like, the bigger character, the one that's hate charged, to, not let things, like, let your emotions go at a certain instinct. But I don't know. Like, I'm making a bad point.
You all are emotional and like extra emotional in the wrong ways. A woman told you you want to kill her. No, maybe if you had a few conversations, you would know how to process your emotions better.
There are certain emotions that are allowed or that we are able to, like anger is an emotion we can express.
And
Yes.
then the thing is, you call women emotional, but if you told a man no, or a man does not get his way, it gets scary for her. The thing I'm cutting myself off, but like, I've seen plenty of videos where a man is attacking a woman and there are several men just letting it happen, and one of the excuses, this is on Twitter, was like, well, like we didn't know what he was gonna do, and so it's like seems like other men are afraid
scared of other men,
and then it's like, well, then why are you expecting us to like not be afraid
and trust you openly? And
I'm just saying, like, nope. And again, the receipts tell themselves. Like, I don't allow men to do that in the presence of me, and I make sure I keep my colleagues accountable, but it's going to be a slow track is when we've been ingrained from society as a boy. Hey, boys don't cry. Hey, boys don't do this. If you do this, like, you're a wuss. Like, if you, and this is coming from parents.
Yeah.
This is coming from TV. This
Grandma.
is coming from mom,
I feel that.
Dad. This
well,
is
I do
men,
think
women.
that women play a big role,
yeah,
especially Black women, in perpetuating homophobia and all this other stuff. I've had conversations with a family member, and this is, my grandmother had 4 kids, and those 4 kids, there's 9 grandkids. And somebody was like, well, one of them has to be gay. I just want whatever one is not to be my actual kids.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's just like...
Sheesh.
Do you mind if I in regards to this whole conversation, I and this is why I push it so much. Like, I'm a big proponent and advocate of like people going to therapy.
Oh yeah.
And
Same.
I'm glad now we're like in the space where going to therapy is no longer seen as like a bad thing or that like you're crazy. It's becoming more, normal for people to go to therapy. I know, luckily the institution that I am at,
Ooh, okay.
we get
Illustrious.
we get
I think the
therapy.
field you're in, you need it.
We do, and they
But-
recognize
but
it. I'm
I
glad,
feel
but
you.
Also, I feel like that's one way to start to overcome that boundary. Men,
Same.
we need to have honest conversations with ourselves, but the thing is we don't know how to have those emotional conversations with ourselves, and that's where, therapists can come to aid it. And when I say therapist, I mean someone who is certified, not
Yeah.
someone
I agree.
who's making it their life
I feel
mission
that.
to change the man because, she believes, or
Yeah.
he believes that they can,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's very deep rooted in rhetoric. Like you
Very
think of like
deep-rooted.
the shirts and stuff. Like, ooh, you see little baby, like, ooh, he's gonna be a problem from them girls. Oh, he's gonna be a little player.
Yeah.
Like certain rhetorics that they have,
Yeah.
it's taught very young. I remember there's a shirt for like it was an infant. It's like, don't look at my thighs. It's for like a little girl, and it's just
That's weird. That's weird.
It's just crazy how everything is so. It starts so early.
Yeah. Okay. So
Well,
we can.
okay, before I go, I know we're talking about homophobia. This is the last question. When did you know that you were straight?
That I was straight.
Yeah, because I know people a lot of times when they talk to
Ask,
people
yeah.
who are part of the LGBT community, it's like, when did you know that you were
Let's
gay or
get
blah blah
into
blah.
it. That's a good question.
When did you
We
know
should
that
be
you were
asking that
straight?
question more often.
I don't know. If I had to be honest, I don't know. I just know that I've never felt an attraction, or I've never felt I would date a girl. Like I've just never felt that. I guess I couldn't see myself being like my friend who just like, oh yeah, I'm attracted to women. I think women are beautiful. Like I couldn't see myself like just fucking women, but like, oh, I would never date them. Like I feel like if I would fuck you, like I think I want to think more of you to be like, I'm okay with dating you as well, because that's like another level of attraction. So let me see. I don't know. That's a really good question. I never asked myself that.
Oh,
We should.
to answer that question, baby girl was 4 years old in preschool, like pre-K 4, and there was this boy I saw, and I was like, oh shit,
This does it for me.
I like that. I ain't never thought niggas had cooties.
I would say, like, not gonna lie, when I was younger, it's hard to differentiate the difference between, like, actually, like, wanting to be in a relationship with someone and being
Right.
attracted to people. Because, I mean, I feel like society doesn't give guys that grace. So I definitely had, like, those fleeting moments where I was like, oh, this guy's cute. Wait, does that mean that I'm gay? No, niggas can
I
attract.
do think that
Yeah.
we don't allow.
acknowledge other
Yeah.
guys to be
But-
cute.
I
Yeah.
think that it's a very it's like the bisexuality that is allowed that women have. It's just for like male gaze.
I mean, my thing is like it's not even being bisexual. It's just acknowledging that this person is attractive.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way. Like,
I think,
people can look
for
at,
you to
like,
be gay or for you to be homosexual, I think you have to not just think someone is attractive. I think Megan is sexy as fuck. That doesn't mean like, that doesn't mean I want to date. That doesn't mean I would
Yeah,
fuck her. It
yeah.
just means she's very attractive. Like there's levels. So,
But I do think that guys aren't given the same grace to be,
so yeah, that nigga handsome.
that or even bisexual to even be attracted to them in the same way that women are allowed to. But I do think at the same time, the women is more like it's bisexual because it's sexy to men. Like if I told you I was bisexual and I chose a woman, you would not be like, that's not cute to you if I'm not including you in a threesome. But that kind of ties back to the whole promiscuity.
Promiscuity.
Yeah, it just fucked up.
I was gonna say. I said all that to say like I probably realized I was straight, like no curvature. Elementary school, like 4th grade. There's this chick named Shaniqua. Man.
Shaniqua.
And we still good. I have her on social media. She's married now.
I should find the
But
person
she was
I like.
definitely
I
the
was like,
person I was like, Nick,
Okay.
listen, I don't know what kids are and how we make them, but I'm trying to do that with you.
That's funny. Okay. All right. So we can start to end out. But one thing I want to know, I've been seeing a lot on social media, just in general, where it's like women are like, damn, like if you want to be like, you have so much to say about women and how women should act. And like, just say you want to be a bitch's bad. Like, just say you want that. Just say you want to be a woman. But in the same token, do we tell men how to be men? Be a man up. Like,
I think that there is like this. Oh, okay. Ooh, all right. I kind of had a quote that I just
Okay.
remembered. All right, so this is kind of off topic, but just hear me out. This person's like, if masculinity was truly toxic, then kids growing up without fathers would presumably be better off than the men who have them, but they're not.
I think there's a difference between masculine toxicity and masculinity.
Also, toxic masculinity was a phrase coined by men, but there is
I think there is a difference.
Yes, and also I feel like
I don't agree with this quote. I don't agree with this quote.
I think she's assuming, and that's probably just like a thing she needs to work out. She's assuming that all masculinity is toxic,
and it's not.
It's not.
There's
and that's why that quote just doesn't really hold much.
But even the whole idea of toxic masculinity was created in the terms of talking about sexual violence that happens to men and them being not allowed to be victims in that sense.
Yeah, you know how many, honestly, bro, like, in terms of, you know, I have people tell me things now, but the amount of men who undergo, like, sexual harassment at a young age and just don't talk about it or don't know that it was a bad thing.
Yes, we've had several conversations. You were not the man at 12. You were taken advantage of. And I think that this, hear me out, larger issue is that since there's a lack of, like, sexual education.
Yes, there is.
In the society, and we're kind of, like, taught more, like, abstinence only. Kids aren't allowed to be good advocates for themselves. So a lot of their sexual experiences depends on the adults in their lives. Which is, like, you know, true either way.
Or how much they can sneak around behind the adults in their lives.
Well, that's given.
Yeah.
You have that opportunity, you're able to. But I'm just saying, like, a lot of people are taken advantage of, especially kids, because they don't know and they're not able to advocate for themselves.
Right.
So it's like, you don't know about sex. So, like, if I touch you here, you'll have a sensation because you're a human, you're growing, you're pre-teenage, these things are happening. But you don't understand what's exactly going on, so things are allowed to happen. So I think that does play a big role in the whole toxic masculinity, or, like, men sometimes aren't allowed to be victims. But that is more of an issue because victims are viewed as, like, feminine and bad and, like, there's a certain rhetoric that goes along to admitting to having sexual assault happen to you.
I'm not gonna lie. I knew a guy. He was big ass dude. He was like 6'5", and he told me that both of the mothers of his children, like, I don't know if he used the term right, but he said that I was taken advantage of by both of them, and that it resulted in a child. And I'm not gonna lie. When he told me that, I was just kind of like,
I mean, I'm gonna be 100%
okay,
with
sir.
you. Like, I've been in instances where, like, I've clearly been like, oh yeah, like
no.
I've had a woman reverse sheath me, if that's possible. Anyways, we was making out on the bed. I went to put on the condom. She said she didn't want to fuck. I said, okay, bet. We continued making out, and then she hopped on, and there wasn't a condom on. I threw her off, but of course, I was just like, that's not cool.
That's not cool at all.
Yeah, and I think that is another thing.
It's another women ego thing.
We've been ego thing, and then the emphasization of men being just, like, hormones and sex that we
can't control themselves.
So we assume that for them, sex is like, I'm an attractive woman, my boobs are out, you should want to fuck, and if you don't, like, that don't make no sense.
Yeah, something is wrong with you.
Yeah, and so there is, like, this.
Yeah, we should allow men. I think men keep dick expensive. I think men should say no more often.
And quick, lastly, can we talk about, like, this little nuance between, like, men who go to prison and, like, homosexual sex being okay in prison, but, like, once you get out of prison, it's, like, not okay?
Yeah, I've heard someone say that, like, nigga, that's not gay, that's jail. Like, but didn't the same action happen? If it would have happened a mile from the jail, isn't it?
What this word means?
Like,
I agree.
What do you mean?
But like
what?
I feel like it is kind of, we're not allowing them to have space to be open with sharing that. Like, while I was in jail, I had this experience, blah, 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 blah.
And you liked it, and you want to continue it now that you're out of prison.
And that doesn't necessarily take away from you wanting women, but I think that this goes back to we're not allowing men to be bisexual, is the point I was making. Yes,
and I understand that, but when they come out and like, oh no, that was just jail. It wasn't just like you liked, just because you were in jail doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Yeah.
The location in which it happened.
Yeah, it doesn't mean exactly. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It doesn't mean that she didn't flip over. Like it, that's not what that means.
So you doing the bending?
Just saying.
Just ask your girl to peg you. I'm sure she'll say yes.
Have you ever been pegged? Would you ever be pegged?
Would I ever be pegged? I don't know.
I feel that's an honest answer. Would you ever peg somebody?
I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like that's some marriage shit though. If I had to be honest, I wouldn't consider it unless there was a ring, unless there's a mortgage. Yeah.
Then he'd be like, "I'm gonna toot that thing. You gonna like bend that thing over, big fella?"
I don't know, cause I want a big ass nigga. I don't know.
Last night, cause I have a friend who's homosexual, and he was like, people see pegging as like some form of like demasculation, but for some it's empowering. So how do you balance that? And then we have the hood niggas there too. So they was like, "Fuck is that empowering?" You know what I mean? And so,
Well, I think
just because you don't know who you are, like
I was gonna say it. There is a connotation with it. I am not mature enough to have that over somebody. Cause like,
you feel like you would laugh the whole time?
No, nigga, if you said something wrong to me, my nigga, I fucked you. Like, I bent you over. And
come on now. If a man said that to you, that's fucked up.
Yes, it is. That's why I said I'm not mature.
Okay, all right.
I preface that with, I do not have the maturity at this point for that.
Yeah, it definitely is more, and I won't even say it's a man or woman thing. Like, I definitely heard women say, like, man, that nigga ate my pussy. Like, ain't nothing he could say to me.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I fed you. Shut up.
Exactly. And that being like a argument.
That goes back to the sexual exploration with men. We have a lot of women who be like, I put my thumb in your as like a bad thing.
Well, yeah, that
as a taking you down a few notches, which is really fucked up.
Which is weird when everybody's supposed to be
weird
freaky.
Flex, but okay, because you put your whole finger there. But
But it's me. That's ooh. So I do think that it's such a, like, I don't say oxymoron, but we essentially want to have our cake and eat it too, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense. How everybody's supposed to be sexual freaks, but like not sexual freaks. And then also, I don't feel like I could bend a guy over because some of these guys, because of homophobia, they don't like
wash their ass,
which is disgusting.
That's sad.
You don't touch it. You don't wash it. That part of your body is not taken care of at all.
It's not like the forbidden place, bro. You should be cleaning your ass, all right?
Please.
And wash behind your ears.
Yes.
That too. The belly button is also a place we gotta make sure.
You got an innie or an outie?
I have an innie.
Innie or outie?
I had a innie until I had surgery. Now it's like an outie, half innie.
Oh, what'd you have surgery in?
I had my
Appendix?
No, my gallbladder. removed.
Oh wow.
Yeah. What happened? I don't know. I was in 7th grade. I thought I was gonna die though.
Yeah, in 7th grade. I'm sure. Oh
my goodness, that's major
Honestly,
surgery.
Bro, not gonna lie, I was pretty cool with the surgery up until like we went to church the day before, and everyone was just praying like I was gonna die, and I was like, bro, maybe I was. Like, it's one of those moments where like the parents freaks the kid out more than the kid was freaked out. I was like,
that's happened to me.
I'm gonna die.
I like accidentally stapled my thumb, and I was like, "Oh, that's my dad to help," and he was like, "Oh my god," and I was like, "Oh shit, should I like?"
Oh my god.
Okay, all right, y'all. So we are closing this thing out nicely. We're gonna put a bow on it. We haven't blocked anyone all day. Who are we blocking?
Oh yeah, homophobes.
Yes.
People who don't believe in bisexuality. Sorry, Grandma.
That includes what? Never mind. That could go preference, I guess. I'll renege that. I'll recant that statement.
What else are we gonna do? A lack of sexual education.
Yes.
Because
abstinent education is not sex education.
What it does, it just does not allow people to advocate for themselves in the effective way. What else do we want to block?
I'm gonna block men not creating.
Room.
Oh yeah, men not creating spaces for themselves to like be open with their friends.
Preach. Have these conversations, and it is really weird how
weird
men will
first,
like they won't rally around you for seeking help, but like if you were to commit a crime against somebody, you would have supporters.
Hella support.
Yeah,
we got shooters. That's fine.
Sexual assaulters, abusers, like that's not. I'm depressed is where you draw the line, but like not the actual deviant. And then also the whole idea of being gay is the worst thing when you coddle your uncle that is probably a pedophile, for lack of a better word. So let's block that part of the black community. All right.
I think we're good. Well, thank you for, coming out.
Oh my
well, we kind of came to you, but
Thank you.
We have this hosting us and talking to us. It means a lot. I'm so excited. Shout out to our male guests.
Yay! We're so excited.
It was.
We out.
All right.
Okay.